Hello everyone, welcome to Kiwi School. On this video, you're gonna learn about the Kiwi Reloader, which is a tool we developed on Kiwi School to hot reload your app on multiple Android phones, emulators, and computer at the same time in real time. So on this video, you can see that on the left, we have the Kiwi app on the computer, and on the right, we have the Kiwi app on the Android phone. And every time I press Ctrl S, it's reloaded on the computer and also on the phone at the same time. On the left, we have the Android phone on this example, and on the right, we have the desktop app. So it's running both on the computer and on the phone, and then we can simply adjust the things in real time. It's much easier to develop your Kiwi app because you do not have to recompile your app every time you change the code. You do not need to restart your app every time you make a small change to your code. That's why this tool is so valuable. So let's go. What you need to do here, you must have followed our installation guide on Kiwi School, and we assume you already have the basic tools and you know how to use them. So you have Python on your system, you have Git, you have Poetry, PyM. So these are prerequisites. So let's go. Open your browser, go to kiwischool.com, click on the left and go to Kiwi Reloader, hot reload Kiwi apps. So here you can see the video examples, a little explanation of how it works. Basically, we have a bunch of folders and files that we are watching. And then when you make any change to these folders or files, these changes are going to be detected by Watchdog, and then we are going to reload your app. So once you click here on installation guide, you know that you must have the prerequisites. If you do not have, please follow our installation guide from Kiwi School. Just click on this link, okay? Then you can see a very good tutorial that you can follow on any operating system, maybe Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows. We have a bunch of tutorials. We hope you already have PyEnv, Poetry, and Git on your system before completing this tutorial, okay? So after you follow the installation guide from Kiwi School, the next step is installing Screen Copy. So Screen Copy. What is Screen Copy? Screen Copy is an application that mirrors Android devices, video and audio, and allows you to control the device with the keyboard and the mouse of the computer. So you're gonna be able to control your Android phone from your computer using Wi-Fi or using the cable. And basically you'll be able to use the keyboard and the mouse to control your phone. So it's very good app and makes much easier to develop Android apps because you do not need to use the phone with your hands and then go back to the keyboard and go to the phone again. You can do everything on the computer. You're gonna be controlling your phone from the computer. So this tool is very important to install. So we have the link here. What you need to do is installing Screen Copy, okay? You're gonna find these links on the Kiwi School tutorial. So please just follow the latest release instructions. What we mean by this is that Screen Copy has multiple versions. So if you try to install using sudo apt install Screen Copy, it's not going to work. Please follow the latest release instructions. So you click on this link, okay, and then you can see there are some instructions here. So that's the instructions we are gonna follow. These instructions are, first you're gonna install the dependencies, and after this you're gonna clone Screen Copy repository and install using a script. It's super easy. Come on, let's go. So you're gonna copy this, okay, click to copy, open your terminal, put it on the right, then paste the command. Okay, once it finishes, click on the next command and paste. It's going to clone Screen Copy. It's going to enter the directory. And after this, it's going to build Screen Copy. Very easy. Now, what you can do is type in Screen Copy. As you can see, it's already working. It failed here because my phone was not connected to the computer. So connect your phone to your computer using a cable and then type Screen Copy. So as you can see, this is my actual phone, okay? So if you click here, you can use your phone as you normally would. So you can use any kind of application, okay? Let me go here, for example, go to Kiwi School and give a like. Okay, now that we already have a Screen Copy, the next step is installing Kiwi Reloader. So let's go. Go back to Kiwi School. And after installing Screen Copy, we are going to start the Poetry wizard. Okay, so let's create a folder for our project. Let's say test reloader. Enter that folder. And now let's poetry init. Press enter, enter, enter. Put whatever you want here. Press enter. Put the Python version you have on your system. Press enter multiple times. Now, if you type ls, you can see there is this file. So let's open it on VS Code. Open the terminal. Next step is Poetry Shell to activate the virtual environment. So Poetry Shell. And then finally, we are going to install the Kivy Reloader using Poetry Edge Kivy Reloader. So let's go. Okay, perfect. It's installed. So now let's go back to the Kivy School website. And after installing Kivy Reloader, follow our setup and how to use guide. So let's click here on this link. So this is how to use Kivy Reloader. So we can see here on this website, there are 3 examples of how your app structure could be. So we have a beginner example, which is basically a single file. Okay, so suppose you're a very beginner, you just want to test this. So just create a file called main.py, and inside this file, click on this button to copy the content. Control V and then Control S. I said VS Code to use the Python from my virtual environment. And now you can run Python main.py. As you can see, when it's run on the first time, it's gonna give an error for you. It says config file not found, please execute Kivy Reloader init. So that's the next step. To use Kivy Reloader, you need to go here and type on the terminal Kivy Reloader init. When you press enter, see what happens. It created 2 files here for you. One is called kivyreloader.toml and the other one is the buildozer.spec file. So what we want to do right now is configure the kivyreloader.toml file. So go here and let's configure this file. This file is very easy to understand. Basically, you have here a list of phone IPs. And here you should put the IP of your phone. If you do not know how to obtain the IP of your phone, it's very easy. So basically you go to the settings of your phone, click on status and then check the IP address. In my case, the IP of my phone is this one. You can put more than one phone if you want. This is a list, so you could put multiple IPs. So the next instruction is hot reload on phone. So if you take a look here, we need to set it to true. What this means, every time I press Ctrl S, it's going to hot reload on the computer and also on the phone. Next is the stream using. You can stream using USB or Wi-Fi. So if you are using the USB cable, put USB, but you could also put Wi-Fi. I prefer USB because it's faster, but you could also put Wi-Fi. Please test at your home. You're gonna have a very good experience with both. But let's try to understand this variable right here. It's called full reload files. It says here, it's a list of file names, relative paths that will trigger a live reload. So live reload means that the Kivy app is going to restart. In this begin example, we are only watching the main.py file. So that's why we put here main.py. And that's it. Let's go here to main.py and then let's execute Python main.py. Once we execute this, first thing we can see is that the app is appearing on the computer. And if I change something here on the app, so let's say Kivy Reloader, and when I press Ctrl S, it's already reloading. And here we can see that it's attempting to connect to the phone, but the app is not running on the phone yet. So what we need to do is, I'm gonna open a new terminal right here. And on this terminal, I'm going to compile and hot reload. One thing we need to do right now is compiling this application, creating an APK and deploy it on the Android phone. The Kivy Reloader tool is using Buildozer. Buildozer is the tool that is automating the entire build process, like downloading Python for Android, Android SDK, NDK, etc. So for using Buildozer, here you need to copy this command. I'm gonna open a new terminal here. So paste. and let's install the Buildozer dependencies. Okay, finished. So after you install the Buildozer dependencies, you should connect your phone to the computer using a USB cable if you want, right? Because you could also use the Wi-Fi, but let's use the USB cable. And then you need to enable developer options. So just click on this link and check your phone model and do it. Okay, so it's different on different Android phones. So please enable developer options. And once you do it, you need to enable USB debugging. Okay, so click on this link. You're gonna see something like this. There's an option called USB debugging. You need to activate this option, otherwise it will not work. So after you enable developer options and you activate USB debugging, on the terminal type Kiwi Reloader run. Click to copy to clipboard and then paste Kiwi Reloader run. And look at this. Now we have 4 different options. So for development, we want to compile the APK on the phone. There is also debugging in live stream. For debugging, we're gonna be using ADB Logcat. In live stream is actually using screen copy to live stream the phone on the computer. So for using this tool, it's very easy. This is a CLI tool. It means that you can control this application using up and down arrows. Okay, if you press left arrow, you're gonna exit the tool. If you type enter or right arrow, let's say, it's gonna start the compilation. So once you start the compilation, you're gonna see a notification right here on the right top of your screen. So it says the compilation started at this point. So once it finishes the compilation, it's also going to show how much time it took to finish the compilation of your application. This is going to take some time, so let's wait a little. Remember that the first time you run this option, it's going to take between 10 and 15 minutes. It depends on the CPU power and the speed of your computer. But the next time you compile again, it's going to be much quicker. So for example, let me try to run again. As you can see, it finished in 15 seconds. And this is because I'm running this inside a VirtualBox, inside a virtual machine. It would be much quicker on a normal machine. But on the end, you see that it says waiting for application to start. That's because my phone is not connected to my computer. So I'm gonna connect it right now. Okay, let's run again. Compile, debug, and live stream. The compilation started at 4:17. And then finish it in 14 seconds. You can see that after the compilation finishes, screen copy already opens, so you can already control the application from the computer. Let's say I go here, then I type python main.py. So every time I make a change here and press Ctrl S, it restarts on the computer and also on the phone. But this is what we call a live reload. But Kiwi Reloader is much better than this. What you can do here is change the structure of your app, and then you're gonna have a much better experience, because instead of doing a live reload, you're gonna do a hot reload, and we are gonna show you the difference right now. On Kiwi School website, go from beginner example and go to intermediate example, and here it says create a main.py and a file called app.py. So let's go app.py, and then on main.py put this code, so copy and paste. On app.py, copy and paste. And it says here, create a folder called screens. So screens folder. And inside this, create a main screen.kiwi and a main screen.py. And on main screen.py, put this code, main screen.kiwi. Put this code. This is a very simple example, because obviously your Kiwi app will not be a single file. So you're gonna have folders to contain your components, the assets, and a lot of different files. So we're using a very simple example. We have the entry point. This is where the app starts. It's called main.py. And the only thing that this does is importing the main app class and starting it using Trio, which is the asynchronous library that Kiwi Reloader is using under the hood. Here on app.py, we are simply importing a screen and returning it on the build method. On main-screen.py, we are only loading the Kivy path that contains the main screen style. You can see that on line 5, we are using from Kivy Reloader utils import load Kivy path. If you want to make sure you do not get warnings saying that your Kivy files are being reloaded multiple times, use this function right here from Kivy Reloader utils module called load Kivy path. This function is very simple. The only thing it does is checking if the file that you're trying to load has been already built, and if yes, it's gonna unload and then load again. That's crucial for the hot reload to work correctly. And on the main screen, we only have a button and nothing else. So let's go. So if you go back to the website, you can see that we need to customize the Kivy Reload toml. On full reload files, we are going to put also the app.py. Why? The file that contains the entry point of the app and the file that contains the main app class, you need to fully restart the app if these files change. That's why we are going to put here on Kivy Reload toml also app.py, because this is the entry point. So every time the entry point changes, you need to restart your app, and every time the main app class changes, you also need to restart the app. All other files, when they change, you do not need to fully reload the app. If you go here on watched folders recursively, we are gonna put here the screens folder. That means that every time any file inside screens folder change, the app is going to hot reload. So even if I had another folder here, another folder, and inside another folder there is another file, and if these files change, this is also going to cause a hot reload, because this constant here says recursively. So not only screens folder is going to be watched, but any file inside any folder inside that folder, it's also going to be watched. But if you do not want to watch recursively, you could put here on watched folders. The difference is that if you put here, it's not going to watch recursively. It means it's only going to watch the first level of the folder, but in our case it's fine. Let's keep it like this. Okay, so as you can see, on watched folder recursively put screens. So that's the final Kivy Reload toml file. You could copy and paste here because all these constants here, they have default values. So if you do not put anything, we already have them configured for you. So let's delete this folder and then let's run the application. So as you can see now, the welcome to Kivy Reloader. If I go here and add another button, it reloads instantly. So let's put here, let's say home price root something, and then here let's put something. Okay, let's Control S, and then when you click, it's already working. But let's see also on the phone. Kivy Reloader run debugging live stream. Because we already have compiled the app into the phone, we just need to open the app on the phone. Let's put them side by side. Every time I go here on the main screen.kivy, let's say I change the background normal here to nothing, then put color to be black, then change the font size to be 28 pixels. As you can see, it's reloading both on the phone and on the computer at the same time. No compilation needed. The app does not restart. You simply press Ctrl S and it changes automatically both on the computer and on the phone. If you want to see the logs from the phone, you can also do that. So for example, if you take a look here at the terminal, every time I click on the first button, it's going to execute root.something, which is going to print something. So this is on the computer and this is on the phone. Very good. Now let's take a look on a more advanced structure. So go back to Kivy School website and click on Advanced Example. We recommend you to use this structure. Why this structure is very important? Because on the root folder, you're only going to have the main.py, because on the root folder you're also going to have a lot of files that are important for your repository but not for the application itself. So the git ignore, pre-commit files, .vs .code.yaml, GitHub Actions, bulldozer.spec, a lot of files that are related to your project and to the repository of the project, but they are not important for the app itself. So we put the whole app inside a folder called whatever your app is called. So in this case, it's the beautiful app. And then we have a init.py file that contains the main app class. So let's take a look more closely to this structure. So let's create a file called main.py. We already have it here. So copy, paste. And then let's create a folder called beautiful app. Inside the folder beautiful app, you're going to create a file called init.py in a folder called screens. And inside the folder screens, we're going to create the main screen.kiv and the main screen.py file. Now we're going to copy the code for each one. So beautiful app init, that's very similar from before. The only difference now is that we are importing from beautiful app. You could also use a relative import, okay? That would work too. And then on main screen, and then the kiv file. The only difference that we're gonna have here is that we are gonna be watching the beautiful app init.py file. Why we are gonna be watching this file to cause a full reload of the app? Because this file contains the main app class. Look at this, from keep reloaded app, import app. What if you want to ship this app into production? The only thing you need to do is remove this, okay? Instead of importing from Kib Reloader, you import from Kib. When you are shipping your app into production, you do not want to ship also the reloader code. So you're just gonna replace this by this, okay? But for now, we're on development stage, so let's keep it like this. And now, on watched folders recursively, we do not have a screens folder anymore. We just have the beautiful app folder, and this folder contains the whole app. So it means that if any file inside the whole app changes, we are gonna hot reload our application. So let's go. Let's run the application on the computer. It's already working. And now let's run also the application on the phone. Now, for example, if I change something here, what will happen? This is going to cause a live reload. So the app is going to fully restart. You see? Fully restarting on the computer and on the phone because you are changing the entry point. But let's say you also change the main app class. What's going to happen? When you press Ctrl S, you can see it also live reloaded our application. But what if we change anything else? So we know that this would cause a full reload or a live reload because this is the entry point and this contains the main app class. But all other files will not going to cause a live reload, but only a hot reload. And the hot reload is much lighter. So if you go here, it's much faster. So press Ctrl S, look at this. Ctrl S, and then boom, it's both on the computer and on the phone. So very easy. Very cool application. You can customize your KiwiReloader.toml much more. If you are interested in knowing more about this file, just take a look at the configuration file. There is an explanation above each line. So if you are running Android services on the background or on foreground, you can put the service names here. So every time you change the service, your app is going to live reload to reload your service. And also you need to put here the relative path to the service files. So every time you press Ctrl S, this whole folder is going to be sent to the phone. But there are a lot of files that you do not want to send to the phone. For example, you do not want to send the .bulldozer folder to the phone. You do not want to send the .vm folder, .git, and so on. So if there are other files that you also do not want to send to your phone, just add here, like this file .py. So if I had this file.py here, when I press Ctrl S and it hot reloads on the computer and on the phone, this file is not going to be sent to the phone. These are folders and files to exclude from phone. Just put the path to the folder or file. Also, If you want, you can change the X position of the window generated by screen copy. So sometimes you want, every time that you start the Kivy Reloader, you wanted this window to be like right here. You can control the starting position of this window by changing the window X and the window Y constants. You could also change the window width. You could change the window title. So let's say it's full. Kivy Reloader is cool. You could put show touch true. So what happens is every time I touch the phone with my finger, it's going to show where my finger is. So I'm using 3 fingers right now. So I could see all the touches on the phone. Stay awake, put to true, like the screen is not going to be turned off. If you want the screen to be off all the time, you can turn the screen off. Always on top is by default true. It means that this is on top of all other applications, as you can see. Okay, we are quite finishing. So if you take a look, there are 2 more options right here, okay? When you compile the app, if you take a look at the bin folder, it's creating a .apk file, but this file cannot be uploaded to the Play Store. So if you want to upload your application to Google Play Store, you need to create a file called Android App Bundle or AAB. Okay, so just click here and create AAB and wait a little, and then you're gonna see on the end of the compilation another file here called the name of your app, the version, the CPU architecture, and finally the .aab, which is the extension that Google Play Store is going to accept. Obviously, you cannot deploy this on your phone. What you deploy on your phone is the .apk. But when you send the Android App Bundle to Google Play Store, they are gonna do this work for the users that are downloading the application. If you run the Kivy Reloader, you're gonna see also there is a fix here. So this option, if you are having any kind of trouble to connect your phone to the computer, just try running this option. It can fix a lot of phone connection issues. So I hope this helps. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. This project is open source, so we accept contributions. And if you need any other help or if you have any questions, please join the Kivy Discord channel so we can help you there. So at Kivy School, let's code together.